Now I'm very happy to welcome back one of the sharpest people in college football sports betting in Mr. Brad Powers from BradPowersports.com. You can follow Brad on X at BradPower7. Brad, I cannot believe we're almost halfway through this season. I know it's week 7 that's halfway. We're getting into week 6. What the hell happened, man?
September went by quick. We finally got to see some teams, though, for the first time last week, play somebody like that was worth a damn. So hopefully we get some more intriguing matchups, better data points to distinguish, who's good and who isn't. But season just rolls along. It goes fast every year. It's the fastest 13, 14 weeks of the year as far as I'm concerned.
Oh my God, it is. And here we are, man. Coming towards the middle and just a lot of awesome games still to talk about. The weather's starting to turn in some places. Real nice down here in AZ land. Still a little warm, but it's getting nice. But hey, man, I always like to bring up your ex followers because you have kind of the funnest thing to talk about. When you get to certain amounts and landmarks, you say what stadiums you can fill up. So obviously, we're not completely there yet. I don't know, is it the big house that's the most? But where are you at now with your followers? What stadium can you fill up, and what's on deck?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking about that. Yeah, I've been doing that for I want to think 5 or 6 years. So when we finish it up, it'll be like almost a decade long theme that'll close up. So that'd be special. But right now, I mean, we're getting there. 121 out of 136 we can fill up. Oklahoma's next as we close in on 80K. But yeah, I think the big house 110. So we're a few years out yet.
Is the big house still the biggest? With the most?
That's a good question. I think it still is. I'm not sure though, but yeah, it's around 110. I want to say maybe I'll retire once I hit that one. That'd be a good one to retire at.
You've been talking retirement for the last 6-7 years, Brad. You're younger than I am, man.
I'm working on it though. I mean, I moved back home. That's the start. So
there you go, man. What's nice about your situation?
It's a big out 107.6. So I'm actually 3,000 closer. I thought it was 110. So 107.
I heard 110 too, and maybe that's just like packing standing rooms. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Maybe they're counting the workers or something. I have no clue either. But why? I guess you should count the workers. I'm sure they're watching. Yeah, that's awesome. Just kind of moving along here, and I called you the early line crusher, my man, because you seem to move these markets pretty quick. It's kind of fun to hear, and damn you for Louisville. I was kind of watching that was it Sunday or something, and all of a sudden they moved to 7.5. I'm like, Jesus, it's probably Brad, and here we are. It was. But you gotta keep doing what you're doing though, man. I'm thinking
it sometimes comes back though this year. So I mean, if you don't catch it, I always tell people, hey, wait. I mean, some people think that I'm about as sharp as a marble, so they might buy it back when it hits that peak.
Oh my goodness, come on, man. Well, here we are. Looks like Bobby's checking in. What's up, Bobby? Big House, Kyle Field, Bryant, Denny, Ohio State. Who we missing? That's
Penn State's up there.
Yeah, yep. Penn State's up there. So that's I guess that's it. And what an atmosphere last week. If you want to just quick give some cracks to James Franklin, you have the floor, man.
If you can't win that one, I don't know when. You keep waiting for the time that's never coming. So
yeah.
That was bad. I mean, they should feel fortunate they forced overtime, but that's that offensive performance after having all year to prep for that game. Literally all year. I mean, you didn't have to prep for those 3 teams you already played. I mean, when you're a 40-point favorite in those 3 games, not happening. They're not going into Columbus and beating the Buckeyes.
Yeah, they're not going to Columbus and beating the Buckeyes. I would put money on that. I think if anything below 7, I'd probably definitely put money on the Buckeyes in that one. We'll see when that line comes out, but it's just I had to downgrade them. And big game James, and like you say, he's a bully and beats up the small teams, which he hasn't been doing as much this year. 0-4 against the spread. Maybe he's trying, he just can't. I don't know. It's just weird, really weird. And I find it strange. If anyone wants to chime in here on the YouTube channel, just go ahead and give it a follow, and please hit that like button. Really appreciate it. What's up, Ben Diaz, checking in? Good afternoon to you. I'm excited to talk some great college football with Mr. Powers here. And before I think Brad came on, it was like July or something is when we talked. and we talked about the new rule change, and it was interesting because the most significant one we talked about was the injured player costing a timeout if they go down after the ball is spotted. So we don't talk about reviewing this stuff as much as we should, I think, in the marketplace. What do you think about the rule after about 5 weeks of college football?
To be perfectly honest with you, until I read your email about, asking me that question, I have forgotten about it. So actually that means it's a good thing because I haven't noticed a lot of guys, faking injuries this year. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good rule. Have you? Because I watch a lot of football. I haven't seen it. I know that the first couple weeks of the season, the tempo seemed a lot slower than what is typically. I think some of it is a variety of the new rules. I know it's year 2 of this, but the helmet, when you can talk to your quarterback until 15 seconds are left. Well, you want to take advantage of every second you can talk to him through the helmet instead of going up the line of scrimmage and firing right away with 25, 30 seconds left on the play clock. So I think most of the new rules have been good. I think the best one, or at least something different this season that I've seen, is just the transparency of the ACC review booth that goes back up to the conference, and we can hear everybody talking as the the review is going on. Obviously a big game, Florida State, Virginia last Friday night. You got a sneak peek of that. I hope every conference, or at least major conference, and even the NFL goes to that, where we can actually hear the conversation being had with the official on the field in the replay booth, whether it's in New York or wherever the conference is affiliated. And I think that's a really good move.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We need that in every game. Andrew Clark chiming in. So I have noticed the new rule. I noticed people have been doing it less, but here's the weird thing about it. It's normally the defense trying to arrest when the offense is trying to catch up, like win the game down by 6, 7 points or 3 or whatever. And I'm finding it's called a lot, and it's good. It's actually working. I'm noticing. But here's the weird thing: it's supposed to be after the ball spotted, but the ref's running to spot the ball. He's trying to hurry up to help the offense. So all of a sudden they see a guy down, they blow the whistle, cost time. I was like, I don't know why the coaches are be like, well, he was down beforehand, and I'm wondering if they're just going to try to have a plan where they stay down. I don't know completely 100% on how this rule is going to be working, but I say if there's a change, just make sure you give them one if the guy's really down. But I think it's a great rule right now, Brad. And the fact you're right, it's not being brought up enough. Maybe that it worked.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much discussion on it, so I think if it was a problem, and bad news usually travels much quicker than good news. So I think it's working. But yeah,
Awesome.
I think Bobby's talking about every game as far as the review. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. With the review for sure. 100%. I'm always up for that. Buy low, so high. We always like to talk about that, whether it's a team that, you're going to play or fade or whatever this week, or it could be next week. You're just kind of waiting for a spot. You think they're getting a little too much value or maybe not enough value in the marketplace. Give me a buy low or sell high team or both. And I got 2 myself after you go.
Yeah, I'll start with buy low. We'll go Kansas State, team that started the season as poorly as anybody relative to expectations. Didn't cover in any of their first 4 games. Almost lost all 4, with the exception being an almost outright upset loss against North Dakota. But they came off a bye last week. They won. They covered, and I think more importantly, they got their running back, their most explosive player, Dylan Edwards, back. He had 166 yards. He's been hurt almost all season. He went down on the first drive of the first game of the season in week 0 against Iowa State. So I think it's a sneaky team that I'm finding value on this week. I think they're very live to beat Baylor outright, forget the spread, and maybe they can pull a few more upsets as we go here. A team that was one of the preseason favorites in the Big 12.
Oh, that's a good one. If Avery Johnson gets his head right, and if he already did last week, yeah. I mean that's what you're looking at.
He'll
I think
throw, with me saying that, I'll go throw 4 picks this week. But
well, Kleiman's too good of a coach, so I agree with that. It's a good spot. I'm going to give you a crazy one, and I'm not sure if I'm going to bet on them over in their long travels this week, but I think Oregon State's getting so low in the marketplace that maybe we have to play on them, man. Now, I'm not sure. Like I said, they're going to Boone. it's a tough spot to get to, and App State, I assume, has a good home field advantage. But this is the worst App State team I've seen, Brad, in I would say a good 10 years. Even maybe since they joined the FBS. This is a terrible App State team. And if I'm not going to fade them this week, if I'm not going to buy on Oregon State this week, maybe next week at home against Wake Forest. That's an interesting spot too. They're going to be at home. I feel like they've improved a little bit, kind of kept it close with Houston. It's an ugly one, but I'm going to buy low on them, I think.
Yeah, they should have a couple of wins already this season. The Fresno game was very weird. That one should have beaten Houston last week. They're up 24-10. I mean, if you look at success rate differences, I mean, it was one of the biggest of any game this season so far. But at 0-5, you're starting to get to the, and you got a coach that might be entering lame duck in his second year. They better get it this week, because if they don't, then I don't know if we're ever going to get there, because I think the coach might be done.
Well, absolutely. That's very true. But, lame duck, the players still have to show up every once in a while just to keep their integrity and their transfer portal lives awake. So, they need to be.
Yeah, we're getting past that. They can't transfer. I guess they could transfer in the 30-day window, but it's much more likely they do it after 4 games instead of, 5 games into the season.
Oh, absolutely. But next year, they're going to be looked at as well for what they did during the season. Just see if anything's there. When there's a new coach, they get picked apart by other teams. So let's see kind of, where that ends up. Yeah, Bobby likes the idea of doing it at home too against Wake Forest. Sell high. So I got one for you, but you'll smile at the one I have. So I'm going to ask you to give you yours first.
UNLV, undefeated UNLV. I haven't seen them too much. They're only going to be playing their second game in a month this weekend, because they've had 2 bye weeks here in the last 3 weeks. They haven't beaten a team that's got to win over an FBS opponent. I mean, look at it. Sam Houston hasn't won a game. Idaho State was, an FCS opponent who they almost lost to. They beat Miami of Ohio. They've only beaten an FCS team. And UCLA, who might not win a game all season. So I'm selling them. I think they're a little overrated. You mentioned something at the top about the weather changing. It's going to be pretty apparent in that one. There's some wind, there's some rain, 50 degrees in Laramie. That's another one where I think this is the week to maybe even sell UNLV. I wouldn't be a bit surprised they lose outright against Wyoming.
Oh, Laramie. That's a tough place to play at times, especially like we said, when the weather changes, man. Good stuff on UNLV. I agree. I'm selling high on Notre Dame. And I know that's your boys, but but there's no one else that bets against Notre Dame than you. There's no person that bets against this team than you. But I'm looking on Sagarin. Number 3, really, Jeff? No, number 3, Notre Dame. I know their offense has brought them there, but man, I'm sorry, I can't get to Notre Dame at number 3. And we'll talk about the game with Boise State coming on. I still think that defense is just too brand new. They lost too many people to the pros last year. CJ Carr is doing great, but he didn't have a hiccup. It's just number 3. No, I don't have them number 3, Brad. I don't know about you.
I got them number 7. But I'm certainly, I think it's a super expensive line this week. So we'll talk more about that game. So I'm not with you. I will say, if they come out and continue and cover this number, I don't think I'm in the sell range, because this is about the point last season where they went on a run and covered 10 games in a row. So I'm anxious to see that this week will tell me whether they're a sell or a buy the rest of the season.
Well,
because they do have a lot of youth. They're playing 3 freshmen in the secondary, and freshmen aren't going to get worse. They're only going to get better. And I've seen some improvement in the freshmen in the secondary. And Leonard Moore's been out. He might come back soon.
Yeah, Leonard Moore came out. Yeah, yep, that's true. I'm looking at Laramie right now. So Clark says 30 mile per hour winds. The gusts, I think, are 30 miles per hour. It's up to about 15 right now. 82% chance of rain. So I guess the under already got nailed on that.
Yeah, I got crushed in the last 24 hours. I was looking. I was like, "Ooh, that'd be I'll give you something big, not anything specific, but I would say October, first week or two, is usually a great time to play some weather stuff, because it's changing. and the market doesn't react. Not everybody's thinking about weather yet at this point in the season. So pick your Laramies, pick your spots that sometimes have a front that, the Southeast isn't getting a front this time of year. So that's something to always play into, regardless of year.
Regardless, I agree. Okay, Ohio State plus 175. We got a question from Trip Tepper. Do you play that now as a proxy for the future money line in the Big Ten game, or Ohio State is assuming would it be a 3-point or more favorite in the Big Ten, regardless of plan? First of all, I don't necessarily agree they're going to be 3 points against Oregon the way Oregon's playing right now. What if Satan gets hurt? That's what you're getting the plus 175 for. It's like you're just an investment on the future of them. And of course, they got to beat Penn State, and their schedule's not that bad. It's most likely going to be them versus Oregon. And right now, I would rather, you can say money line rollover, but they can get in with one loss. That Brad, what do you think? I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no because I would have them a slight underdog to Oregon. I know I'm different there in the market, but I don't think it's going to be 3. I'd have a big bet on Oregon at plus 3.
Yeah, I would too. I think Oregon's just playing great football right now. Now, do they have a hiccup? It's just an interesting spot. They get to go into a bye this week. Then they get Indiana, and that's going to be, believe it or not, a test now. I'm pretty impressed with Indiana this year. I thought I was going to be fading them more, but there's going to be a few tests. But I agree with Brad. I have Ohio State, Oregon still, so I'm not quite as far as him, but I'm not quite to a 3-point spread. I'm probably a 2-point spread. We'll see what happens. But, your quarterback gets injured, everything changes. They do have the defense to get by, so that's a good thing. So that's my opinion on that one too. Let's move into some games. So let's get into our 6-pack of games. We always do a 6-pack and then go kind of random. Let's start with one Brad picked out. And we'll get to the Thursday, Friday after we do this. Iowa State versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati is minus 1.5 as of this morning when I wrote this down. The total's 54.5. Brad, you picked this one. I'm assuming you have something.
I like Cincy. I think it's a team to keep an eye on. Look, I don't like Satterfield much as a coach. Haven't liked what he's done so far at Cincinnati, but they finally got over the hump, won a close game last week. Very impressed with their performance at Kansas. Their offense right now, number 3 in the country in yards per play. That's something I don't think, a lot of people are thinking about. But Sorsby's been pretty good. And keep in mind, the Nebraska game was a game that I came away first impressed with Cincinnati, particularly in that second half. Because the first half, I'm like, oh, this game might get away from Cincinnati. No, Cincinnati was the better team than Nebraska and won the line of scrimmage in that second half. So I think it's a sneaky good team. I think they could be the better team here at home. I'm closer to 3 on this game. And I also think a couple of sneaky injuries for Iowa State. Not one, but both of their starting cornerbacks out for the season for the Cyclones. Now they're facing, Sorsby attack that threw for over 300 yards last week. I like Cincy here to continue the momentum.
Did you say 2 cornerbacks are out or 1?
2 all Big 12, not just starters, all Big 12 guys.
Oh my God. That okay. So I saw this line +2 like Sunday. I'm like, I kind of like Cincinnati, I mean, sudden boom, goes through I'm sure Brad was probably part of that. And then it's back to 1.5. It kind of came back a little bit, Brad. I thought I saw it 3 and I was like, really? I was starting to think Iowa State. Here's the problem. The only problem I had at Cincinnati is the shirt that Brad's wearing right now. And Brad is where I was on Cincinnati that game.
The whole world was.
Bowling Green, I had 20.5. It closed at 24, 25. Bowling Green just kept coming and coming. And don't get me wrong, Bowling Green's a better team than we all thought. But that gave me a little bit of pause. But now that you're telling me the cornerbacks are out, I didn't even notice that in the injury reports. So, of course, you have to really follow beat writers and stuff. I mean, Covers does one, and and obviously Roto, and but you're
tapping in a pet peeve of mine. That's something needs to be left a lot to be desired right now. College football injuries. We need a site that's good.
We do need a site that's good. I feel like even basketball news gets more out better than college football. Yep. We need something real there. So anybody want to make some money, focus on college football injuries.
Subscribe, like something legitimate. I want to know who's out for the year.
Yes.
I just don't want all skill position. It feels like I got the quarterbacks, the running backs, the wide receivers down, but it's the offensive line, D line. Iowa State, the corners. That's the information that I'm looking for. Is that, not the skill position. That's out there, the skill position stuff, but not the other positions.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, I would love that, Brad. But we got to keep complaining and calling for it because we need to see that. So I do see Williams out and Cooper questionable, but probably out, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah,
So
the last out for the years. With
yeah.
Campbell, I mean, what's your source? Matt Campbell. So,
Yeah, Matt Campbell. It's better than Covers is doing right now. But a
yeah,
lot of these are cut and paste stuff, and they just
yeah.
pull from other places and do that. So yeah, I mean that makes sense. I'm not quite there, but I will say now that you said the cornerbacks are out, you wonder what they have coming back on the second. It is the problem is it a real letdown spot against Kansas? I don't know. I lean Cincinnati for sure as well. So I'm on your side now. That's back down to 1.5 and definitely not at the 3. Let's move to the next game, and I have Boston College versus Pitt. Pitt is -6.5. I am surprised, Brad. The total is 58.5. I am surprised that this line moved up, because it opened at 3.5. And it kind of pissed me off because I got a bad number. I was thinking this should go to 3. People are not. Boston College should have won all 3 of their losses. One was Michigan State. Some terrible calls in that. They're up on Cal. And there's another weird one. Oh, the Stanford one, they crumbled, right?
Stanford, very weird.
It was just all weird stuff. Boston College is a better team than this. In Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh is not a good team. The way they lost to West Virginia, sure they kept with Louisville, but last week I never thought that Louisville was going to lose that game. Even when they're down, Louisville spotted them 14 points, 17 points, something like that. It was, it was a hell of a lot of points, and I'm like, how does this happen? So I have this game. I actually have Boston College a better team. So when this move against me, I'm shocked. I'm definitely going to be using this one for a contest play, Brad. Boston College can move the ball through the air. And, that's what that coach does there. Great passing. And if you look at the numbers, that's where Pittsburgh's weak. They're weak, 98th in opponent pass EPA. And so that's why I think the yards are going to come from Pitt. So what do you, or from Boston College. So I love the 6.5. What about you?
I like BC. I'm greedy anymore. So at 6.5, I'm like, am I going to see a 7? But I am much closer to the opener. It's one of the games that moved against my number. It doesn't really happen. Maybe happens 15% of the time, but
Sure.
I agree with you. I think, look, I know Bill O'Brien, a lot of people aren't fans of him, but I know one thing. I think he's a better coach than Narduzzi. So I just, a lot of fluky things have went against BC in those games. If they won one of them, what's the line? If they, win 2 of them, what's the line? I mean, we're literally talking about not games, but plays go their way. I thought they should have won the Michigan State game. I bet Michigan State that week, and I came away like, oh, BC's a lot better than I expected. So, they had an interception at the goal line at the end when they're going to go win it in the final minute last week against Cal. So, I'm with you. I like BC. I think of the. You asked me at the end here, and we'll talk about it. I have a lot of them this week, but you asked me some of the money line stuff. BC's one of them. I think they're very live.
I do too, man. Well, good to have some agreement on that, and we will disagree if we have it, but so far so good. Next game, you pick this one. And this might be the game of the week, just because of the storyline, Brad. Vanderbilt versus Alabama. And Alabama is 10.5 favorite. Total is 55.5. This was 13.5 for a while. It got slammed down to 10, and then now back up to 10.5, Brad. I know you have something for this one.
Well, there was even 9.5s on Monday morning. I was shocked to see that number. Obviously, we took advantage of that number because and part of the reason it's up to 10.5. I still like Alabama at 10.5. I made it close 13.5 is where my numbers are. That's not like I'm down on Vanderbilt. I've upgraded my touchdown. I got Vanderbilt in the top 20 on my power ratings. Now, I do have some questions about their strength of schedule so far. I know that they blew out South Carolina, Virginia Tech, but Virginia Tech fired their coach, the week or so after it. And I'm not a big fan of South Carolina at all this year. So I think those two finals, they're probably getting a little too much credit for. Here's what gets me. What happened last year, I think, helps Alabama this year. They are in the exact same position they were last year. Just beat Georgia. They're playing Vanderbilt. Well, what happened last year? Vanderbilt pulled the huge upset. A lot of things. You go rewatch that game, and I know Vanderbilt was the right side. Alabama was like a 24-point favorite, but there was a lot of fluky things for Vanderbilt to actually win that game. The script went perfectly for Vanderbilt. Now that we're dealing with a 10-point spread, well, now the market's treating like Vanderbilt's got a fighting chance here. I just don't see it. I think if Alabama's got their head screwed on straight, which they should after what Vanderbilt did to them, again, I'm going to trust my numbers. I got 13.5. I can tell you this: if Nick Saban was the coach and it was in this spot and they're lost to Vanderbilt the year before, we'd be talking about like my biggest bet of the season would be on Alabama.
So you have 14 or 13.5, right? That's your number. Mine's like 7 or 8.
Oh, wow. So where's the difference? I have Alabama 3 in my power rings. Meaning I have Alabama the third best team in the country.
I didn't upgrade them that much from the loss. I mean, I started them pretty high. I
have downgraded them since the start of the season. I think that's fair.
I have Alabama as the 5th best team in the country, tied with Ole Miss right now. And I think that I'm higher on Vanderbilt at number 11. So
yeah, that's where it's at. That's where it's at then.
Yeah, it's from that distance. But it's still a big distance between 11. I mean, for me, I think there's some real teams I would still call Vanderbilt not real competitors. I have them below Tennessee, Georgia, even Penn State. But Pavia, man, betting against Pavia, ugh.
Yeah, I know. It's not going to be popular.
He's a dog crusher. And it's not a letdown spot because they always beat Georgia. But, man, there's just something about Pavia getting this team up. And you think just from a mindset they would want to crush the Alabama Vanderbilt. But I almost feel like it puts more pressure on. We don't have many disagreements, and I'm not betting this game, Brad, but I'm going to watch it. And I will lean Vanderbilt. So I guess we'll have a small disagreement.
You're not going to be alone. I think the 10.5 will get bought up. I think this line closes 10.
Bobby's looking for a middle. He grabbed the 14. Hopefully he gets down to 9.5. I would even grab 10, Bobby, because I think that there's a good chance that it doesn't go below that. So I think the Bama money will keep it at least above that. But you'll find a 10, I think. The books will get a little antsy if they're not getting enough money, and they'll go creep out some 10s there, minus 115. I could see that happening for sure. Is Vanderbilt run defense a concern with Vandy's misdirection run attack, or is Alabama's run defense a concern? He's saying Vandy is a very creative. They are creative. I violations.
Yeah, I mean, and they got a big, they lost a player last week. The Rousseau kid's out for significant time for Alabama. And that was the whole thing about last year's game was that, Vanderbilt kept the ball for 40 minutes. So Alabama couldn't get off the field. So if it continues, then I'm going to have egg on my face in this one.
Well, they are creative, and Pavia does do some cool stuff with his eyes. Bama does give out 4.34 rushing yards but
Georgia ran on them.
Georgia did run on them. They just didn't have any sort of a quarterback that game. Stockton was terrible, and but they did play Florida State and Georgia. I don't care about Wisconsin, but they did play 2 really good teams out of the 4. So
that's where a lot of my power ratings disparities come. Strength of schedule. So a lot of people are going to look at stats. Oh, Vanderbilt's getting 10.5 and looking yards per play margin, all this other stuff. Well, I can make a case that Vanderbilt's better. Well, yeah, Vanderbilt's played like a strength of schedule 100-some spots lower than Alabama. So, yeah, of course their stats are better than Alabama. They've been playing teams on an average of probably 3 touchdowns worse than Alabama.
Brad getting fired up. That's what we're hoping for. It's very big discrepancy, but still, I will say I was on Utah State last week and I got that back door, but that back door was due to second, third string. They were done. Yeah. They were out. Pavia was out. Everyone was out. That backdoor did not have to happen. I am so excited to watch this game. Not betting it right now, but I'm going to lean. Like I said, my number's 8. I'm going to lean Vandy. Let's move on to the next game, and maybe Brad will get some revenge on me on this one. Texas versus Florida. I wrote down +7. Where is it at now? I thought it was 7. Maybe it's 6.5. I usually go by DK. It's 6.5 minus 115 of the six minus 6.5. I think you can find some sevens. If not, wait, because I'm taking Florida. I'm a dog better at heart, and yeah, there's just some problems with Texas. It's there was way too much hype on Arch Manning, and he's played
Oh
more like too much starch Manning in your laundry. The Gators, it's not like DJ Lagway is killing it because he's not. But man, how do you rate Manning as a good quarterback when he was terrible against good competition? He wasn't even that good against the bad competition for a long time. It feels like it takes him a half to get warmed up. The strength of schedule difference here is massive. Massive. Brad brings up schedule the last game. I'm going to bring up schedule this game. Florida has the number 2 schedule in all of football in Sagarin. They already played 2 top 10 teams. They should have been in the LSU game instead of 5 turnovers. There's still a positive net yards per play after that schedule. There's still a positive 0.12. I look at that as a good thing. Texas, 146 ranked schedule. You think they'd be higher than 84th in offensive EPA? You think they'd be higher than 54th in offensive success rate? They're not. This Florida defense has been keeping them in games. This is a low total at 41.5 for a reason. It's so funny. It's like people say, oh, the guys hate their coach. These kids circled this game months ago. When they saw Texas as number 1, they circled this game months ago. They can have no coach, and they're showing up for this game. They're playing for integrity here. They're playing for the future. I see a 20-17 game. I agree with the lean to the under, but I think that Florida could be live to beat Tech Longhorns right here.
Their heads are on straight. I think they're very live. I question it, but I haven't seen quit from them yet. So I know Miami ended up pulling away late, but that I didn't see quit in Florida there. Miami's better. I like the Florida defense quite a bit. I like the matchup against Arch. I think he's up against it here. I do like Texas's defense against Florida's offense, though, and Lagway. I think you can have a great bet, and that idiot can throw, a la the LSU game, throw 3-4 picks, and you're buried. I bet the under. I still would lean that way, even though it's moved significantly. But I hear you. If I had to bet a side, it would be Florida for me, especially if you can find that 7.
I'd say find the 7. I grabbed it early enough. I might even got a 7. Where did I get here? I'll be honest. Florida plus 7.5, but I did a minus 118 at FanDuel. So that's where I was able to get it. FanDuel, they hate being whole numbers. They're always on hooks minus NFL. They will stay with 3s on NFL. FanDuel is always a hook, right? They're never, they don't like pushes, and we don't like pushes. So I kind of appreciate what they're doing there. I think you can find some value with that.
I agree, especially when you think they're shaded a half point on a key number in the wrong way. Love that. Taking advantage of it. Now we'll see. We love FanDuel because they sponsor me, but
yeah,
we'll see how long they maybe they'll be limiting BP because now that I'm in a state that offers them and DraftKings, we'll see how long they keep me around.
absolutely. Well, the Believe Network is FanDuel, and that's what we are as well. So we are with you. We no crossing the streams here. We are completely on that
Very
side.
good. I had to quit doing a lot of shows because they're sponsored by others.
Yeah, that's tough when those evil corporate Mongols messing up people's guests. I don't like that. Let's move on to the next game. Notre Dame versus Boise State. Boise minus 20.5. Or sorry, Notre Dame's minus 20.5. I wrote it wrong. It's Boise State versus Notre Dame minus 20.5. Total 62.5. Brad, you picked this game. What do you have?
I like Boise. My numbers are closer to 17 and a half. So big disparity here. I think it's fair. If you believe in a look ahead, and I know it's an illiquid market, it's not like the NFL look ahead, but still, this was trading below 17 last week. I think there's been a little too much love on Notre Dame after the Arkansas game. It is the biggest underdog role for Boise State in any game since 1999. I looked it up. They have not been this big of an underdog in any game. Closest was last year at Oregon, and they almost won that game outright in last year's game 2. They only lost by 17 to Penn State in the playoffs last year. That would still cover this spread. Not by. I think Boise's offense is going to be able to have success against Notre Dame. I think they'll try to slow it a little bit. We see money coming on the under, even though I can't be betting unders in Notre Dame games right now. But I like Boise to cover this big number. I never thought I'd see a number this high. I'm greedy though. Okay, will we see a 21? But I love Boise. It's one of my favorite bets of the week. I bet a bad number. You never hear me say that, but I bet 17.5 on Sunday, thinking it was going to close 17.
Bobby Newport bet Notre Dame minus 15.5. Bobby, I should be talking to you on Saturdays and Sundays. Do you ever have any bad lines? It sounds like you're killing it, man. Congratulations on that. And Bobby's thinking about a middle at 21.5. I don't think it gets there. And this is another big discrepancy in my power ratings as well, Brad. I have this more like a 13-point game. And I was even like not so sure I wasn't too low on Boise State. I know they haven't been impressive, but that's
all covered every game since the South Florida game.
I know. I think I meant that game, and I thought, that was more fluky than anything. It was a tough environment, first game of the season. They had a lot because of Genty leaving, and Cubs just gave up a 2-run homer. And
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I am with you. I actually bet this morning at 20.5. I think it goes back to 18.5. I think this thing's going to move back. I think that some sharp people out there thinking they're going to get a 21, then someone's going to react. Someone's going to react, and it's going to move. And I just like, you know what? I'm not letting it react. I'm fine with 20, 50 to 30. Why not? So, Brad likes the over a little bit too, don't you?
Well, yeah, every Notre Dame has gone over. They're missing their defense coordinator. They're missing, Leonard Moore. They're missing, Xavier Watts is playing for the Falcons. A couple of defensive tackles. They just don't have the same personnel or the same coaching as last year on that side of the ball. But the offense is legit. They went to the national championship game last year pretty much without a passing offense. Well, they got a passing offense this year. So that makes, they're just a dead over team right now. I do think Boise's offense is going to have success here. So I love Boise. I can't believe I'm seeing this number.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a crazy number, I think, just because Notre Dame's this is like when Purdue can backdoor you after a freaking rainstorm. I think that Boise's fighting for, in their minds, they can still maybe make the playoffs. I don't think
they're not going to be intimidated here.
They're not.
They'll travel well too. I'm sure they'll have, Notre Dame fans are known to sell their tickets. So I'm sure there'll be quite a bit of Boise fans in the crowd.
Well, they also made that big travel, spot in the beginning, so they're kind of more used to it now. I think I always kind of like, look, second travel, it should be an okay situation. Love the game. I think you're right, Brad. And like I said, I'm embarrassingly off by a lot, over 7-8 points from the market, which is like, wow, I have to bet it just to show my stupidity if I lose it. That's the way I look at it, right? Miami versus Florida State. Florida State plus 4.5 total. 53.5. So I picked this one, Brad. This is the most basic sharp type handicap in sports betting. I'm not touting myself at all. But I'm just saying that the handicap behind it is just the most common, like we've heard for years. And I agree with it. The whole world's high in Miami. The whole world's worried about Florida State. I was on Virginia last week. I sprinkled the money line. Just that's how college football betting is, man. Florida State outgained them. They had opportunities to win. They lost field position battle. Miami did chop up a good defense against Florida when they played them, and I give them credit for that. But how well did the Florida State team's home win age against Alabama? That's a pretty good age, like a fine wine, my man. And home road splits. I'm looking at home road splits here. Well, who has Miami beaten on the road, Brad?
Have they played on the road yet?
They haven't played on the road. And they haven't even played on the road. We're talking like Miami's top there. Oh, it's probably Miami, Oregon. Yeah, Miami, Ohio State. They didn't play a road game yet. Hold your horses, my friends. Here, I guess as Lee would say, right over from game day before he retired. Hold on, my friend, or something like that. Miami's
so fast.
There it is. Thank you. Not so fast, my friend. Miami's shown some weaknesses when they play decent offenses like Notre Dame. And let's not forget, it's still Coach Cristobal there. It's still Cristobal on the road in a really ruckus Florida State environment. And I don't think they're going to be selling those tickets. They're going to be doing the chop the whole game, my man. My power rings, I think this is a 3-point game. I I give them an extra point for the night game. You know, I like Florida State. I took it. I took it 6.5. I like it at 4.5, Brad.
I bet in the summer, so I'm with you. You know what kind of number I got on the game. We won't mention it, but power ratings say, it's a fair spread. I actually have it at 5, but I concur with you. I think it's a one factor handicap for me. I think Mike Norvell will out coach Cristobal. So I think the Knowles are pretty live on Saturday night. Should be a great atmosphere. I'll be nostalgic for, when I was growing up, this was one of the big, this was a huge game. One, if not the biggest game on the calendar at that point in like their, late 80s and early 90s. So this is the biggest matchup between these two in 20 years. So I'm looking forward to it. I do like Miami at the line of scrimmage, though. I will say that they have impressed me at the line of scrimmage. So we'll see if Florida State can hold up, but they held up against Alabama at the line of scrimmage. I liked Alabama to beat them at the line of scrimmage, and look how that happened. Florida State not only held their own, they won the line of scrimmage. So I think it's the second. It could be could be the second big home win for the Knowles already this season.
I lean to the under too because those lines are so good. Both trenches, offense versus defense. I think I think 51.5 is probably a better line, 51 even than 54.5. I would lean to the under there, and it's such a big game, a night game, a big atmosphere. Yeah, Knowles for me all day. Andrew Clark checking back in, missing right every year. My man, this is like if Vanderbilt's huge because of what happened, but this is really truly the college football fan best game of the week, right, Brad? I agree with that.
Oh yeah, this is big.
Yeah,
Andrew's referring to why he's looking for wide right 4 in this game.
Yep. Bobby likes the under too, so there you have it. Let's go to some randoms then, and we got plenty of time because this is kind of talk a little bit about these games. Sam Houston versus New Mexico State on Thursday. What an ugly game that is. Mexico State took a lot of money last week and lost outright to New Mexico. I should have bet on New Mexico. I liked New Mexico all freaking year, and I didn't bet it, but I'm pissed about myself. I did have ECU last Thursday at least, but New Mexico State plus 2.5. Anything on this one?
Didn't bet it. Spot says Sam Houston, but it's tough laying points on the road with a bad team.
Sam Houston 0-4 against the spread too. So I'm not messing with this one. I'm just gonna probably watch NFL and have this on the background, of course, but I'm not betting this one. Probably not even live. These are two teams that really confuse me right now. Charlotte versus Florida, South Florida. I almost said South Florida was my team that I was going to sell high on. I still think that those wins that they didn't age that well, and their numbers are bad, but their schedule's good. But I'm waiting until they face North Texas. I hope they blow out Charlotte, and then they go to North Texas next week, Brad.
Yeah, I didn't get involved. Charlotte's really banged up. It seems high, but they're without their starting quarterback, starting running backs out for the season. First year coach, I like their coach, but South Florida plays with tempo. So if they push it a little bit, they can maybe get there. Pass.
And Bobby Newport about the New Mexico State Las Cruces at night. But I was driving to Texas last year. I went right by the stadium, and I was like, should I stop like Brad Powers does? Should I stop?
That's a nice stadium. I've stopped there.
Yeah. Oh, that's with my family. There's no way.
Sun Bowl there in El Paso is definitely worth a stop.
There you go. The for you. Yep. UTEP. Yep. That is a very sunny area, and that's why they call it the Sun Bowl. I live in Arizona, but the sun's actually out more often in El Paso than Phoenix.
Did you do White Sands?
Yes, dude. And we stayed the night there. It was fantastic.
Oh, wow.
It was like being in a movie. It was like Star Wars, dude. It was just like these mounds of white sand. You feel like you're
get like disoriented and stuff because all you see is white.
A little bit, especially if you have a cocktail out there. It's fun. I was with my family there, and we had a blast. And we got a hotel, but we went back the next morning too. And it's just surreal there. It's just a trip, and you get these sleds, and there's these really vertical, and the kids go down it, and it goes down a lot slower than snow. So you don't have to worry about it, but they can go sledding down there. So I had a blast at White Sands. I recommend it to anybody. I think I've
heard a bunch of people say that's one of the more underrated national parks in the country.
Absolutely, it is amazing. Western Kentucky, Delaware. Holy cow, did this flip? I've been on Delaware all year, and it's 61.5 as a big ass total. It makes me think that the spread's not going to really play. Either Western Kentucky is going to win outright or Delaware is going to cover by a lot. What about this one?
I bet Delaware had open when they had a plus sign next to their name. Can't do it now. I mean, numbers do matter, even though crossing through zero is not a huge deal. But under though, I did bet the under as well. I got up as high as 63.5. My numbers are still saying under here. Big game. Very impressed with Delaware so far. But now it's different being under the radar, being a dog against Connecticut,
Oh yeah.
dog against FIU, and now you're laying points against a winning culture in Western Kentucky that wins every year, no matter who no matter who's there. They're a team that roster turnover constantly. My numbers can never fully grasp them because they always have 50 transfers. And yeah, it's a good game. Probably, I think of all the games on Thursday and Friday, it's probably the best one.
I'd say so because BYU West Virginia isn't. San Jose.
Yeah, that one's a pretty solid one.
Yeah, because New Mexico's only a 2.5 point to San Jose, and I think that I would bet New Mexico, but
Yep.
it's just like Delaware. New Mexico's not sneaking up anybody, and everyone knows that they're there to play. And Delaware definitely now has got a target on their back. So I mean, this gets to 3.5. I'll be on Western Kentucky for that one. But yeah, it's I'm going to enjoy this game. I have this at Pick'em, really close to Pick'em, so I'm pretty high in New Mexico. Clearly, I don't give that much of a home field advantage for San Jose State. Let's move to Saturday.
I bet New Mexico in that game, but
So
San Jose State season's on the line here.
My terrible Badgers are 17.5 point dogs at the Big House against Michigan. This moved from 16 to 17.5 with the Danny O'Neill news that he's been taking most of the snaps. Edwards is not. And it's looking like they're going to sit Edwards again. And, the writers are talking about right now that Edwards, that Fickle feels bad for letting Edwards play against Maryland and all that. You're still hurt. I don't know what to believe in that situation, but I know that Daniel O'Neill his numbers at 70% completion percentage are more BS because these are against some terrible teams, Middle Tennessee State, Miami, Ohio. I like Michigan a bit. I didn't bet it. I wish I did at 16.5. I still think Michigan could win by this could be like a 27 to 6 game, 27 to 9, something like that.
Yeah, I can only bet Michigan. I leaned over though, believe it or not. I think they're starting to get things going. Well, it's kind of why I like Michigan against the spread. I think they're starting to open up the offense a little bit.
I don't think Wisconsin scores much.
That's
I would say Michigan team total over. How about that one? Michigan team total over. I think that makes more sense.
Fickle going to be back next year?
Yeah, because they extended him. He's going to another year. He's by us.
They'll be an underdog in every game from this point forward. They might finish 2-10. I mean, statistically, they probably win a game, but I mean, it's bad.
I mean, if you add up the power, if you add it up, they're going to probably be like a 20% chance to win a lot of these games. They play Iowa. Maybe they sneak in the Iowa win or Northwestern, right? Something like that. I got to look at the schedule, guy. It's a terrible schedule. They're not winning until November, and maybe they sneak the axe back. It's probably not though. Minnesota's definitely a lot better than them. I feel bad about talking about them. They're just atrocious, and they have completely hit the back to the 1980s before Barry Alvarez type situation. So
that's what happens when you try to get away from that style of football by hiring a shit offensive coordinator. Anybody could have told him that.
We were pissed at Paul Chris too because he got lazy too, and I understand we're going to Fickle, but now that Marcus Freeman was his D coordinator and Denbrock was his offense coordinator at Cincinnati, I think that explains the hell of a lot.
That explains who was behind that. Yeah, it does.
It sure does.
Mike Denbrock doesn't get enough credit.
He doesn't. He's fantastic as a coordinator, offensive coordinator. I love him. He's awesome. Clemson, North Carolina. What about a team that think that you're going to eventually get value on, and you see them laying 14 points on the road? Clemson, what the hell? Are they going to cover a spread this year, dude? This is a lot.
It is a lot. I'm conflicted on this one. I think it's tough trusting Clemson right now, but if they somewhat have their heads on straight, I mean, I don't see North Carolina competing with them. North Carolina's been non-competitive in their only 2 games against power competition this year, and I mean, as bad as Clemson's been, I mean, they're similar to TCU. I think they're better than UCF. So again, if they have somewhat team culture, I think they kill North Carolina. But I don't know. I don't trust it. I mean, I can see it getting away from Dabo this year.
Yeah, I can too. I don't trust it. I think both these coaches are just the most head scratching coaches right now in all of college football that at least have a name. And Andrew thinks Jason X is going to be the coach of Wisco. I don't think he's got enough street cred yet. I think that they're going to go for someone else. Maybe Dabo Sweeney, right? Dabo would not enjoy his time in Wisconsin with the politics there. He would not fare well there. Let's go to Kansas State Baylor. I kind of like the over in this one, to be honest with you. I think Baylor plays one of the second, third fastest seconds per play, and seconds in between play. I get all the numbers for that. Kansas State, they just kind of keep up. I like the over more, but you kind of like Kansas State, don't you?
Yeah, they're my buy low team. I like Edwards being healthy. I'm not wild about this Baylor team. Last week it was only 35-27 into the fourth quarter against Oklahoma State. You see the final, it was close to expectation, close to spread, but it didn't play like that early. And they've just played so many games. I think this is like their sixth game in a row. They played a bunch of big games. I just wonder, they're known to have an egg or two, and I just think Kansas State's on the ascent. So give me Kansas State even money line here.
All right, look at that. Maybe we have a beer bet banger already. Kansas State money line. We got plus 200 here at DraftKings. Probably the same at FanDuel. Tripp's wondering about Army. He said Army UAB is the dog live to win outright here, and I better tell you the number on that currently. UAB's plus 7, total 57.5. The problem I have is UAB, and I looked at it, their run defense is freaking awful. And I just think that's where Army can put on points.
It's an interesting handicap. There's definitely different opinions in the market. I've seen it back and forth already. I'm more on the Army side. The back's against the wall, 1-3. They played a sneaky tough schedule because Tarleton might be like the second best team in the FCS.
I was on Tarleton money line too. That was my favorite. That was one of my first.
And that was a game that Tarleton was the right side, but Army imploded with like 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter and missed 2 field goals. Otherwise, they sneaked that one out. They lost, at home to North Texas. Again, in overtime, North Texas is great. East Carolina's better than expected. Army beat Kansas State. So I like, they're the more trustworthy commodity to me. Now, UAB's already played an option team, Navy. They covered, but I don't trust Dilfer to learn from his mistakes. So Army for me, I liked it. I laid it.
Yeah, Navy was a much bigger spread. It just didn't happen to cover, and that's what happens. Sometimes you're an option team, and you have one turnover that screws your cover up because the clock's going fast. That happens. UAB is 126th in defensive EPA. Now, you would think their schedule was harder, but it only ranks 91st. Army's schedule ranks 18th on Sagarin. Right? Yeah. So what Brad said rings very true. How do you have the 91st schedule and your EPA on defense is 126th, which is almost the worst? Dude, yeah, Army or nothing for me. What's another decent one to bring up here? Oklahoma State, Arizona. I know I said decent one, right? Arizona coming off a bad loss. I almost got to the window with Oklahoma State just based on my power ratings not there. But how low can we put Oklahoma State? Because it's not like you have Arizona much more than 6-7 points above the average. That means you have Oklahoma State like in the freaking Sun Belt range. Terrible. Yeah. I don't know.
A tough one. I bet Arizona, but I just played a number early in the week. Plus, you don't have to know anything about it, not even have your own numbers. Arizona took a ton of money last week. Now it was wrong, but I mean, so much money that you're thinking, well, some of that will still show up the next week, and it has. And there was so much anti-Oklahoma State sentiment in the market. They fired their DC. So, I mean, they are short-staffed right now without their head coach, without position coaches, without the DC. So, I can't lay a 20, though. So, let's pass. Current.
Does Penn State finally cover at UCLA minus 24.5? No.
Yeah, if their head's on straight, maybe, but I'm not gonna be there at this. I'm not gonna get
Nico won't let it happen. He'll get that back door.
Hey, I was impressed. We can laugh about UCLA, but they were down 17-0 last week. I mean, that was a full detense type of situation. They came back against Northwestern.
I had a contest play in UCLA for the Coach Ingles, and it carried. They got that back door, and that's what Nico does. He's just kind of without Nico, this team would be like in
I don't know who
freaking
takes that job.
it'd be in Kent State range. It'd be bad, man. I'm serious. Nico, you actually looks pretty good. I mean, it's so funny. It's like you're picking on Nico for transfer and everything, but the truth is, he looks to me to be the best player. He's just constantly getting killed. It's just so interesting to see how bad this UCLA job is right now and what's going on there. Washington, Maryland. I got to the window, Brad. I took Maryland.
On Maryland?
I did. It took me a while because I'm so high on Washington this year, but this spot just sucks for them. In Maryland, you remember I was on Maryland when Wisconsin got up to 10. I was like, what the fuck? And then Washington going to the East Coast now, tough loss against Ohio State, losing one of their best defensive players to injury. They lost another offensive guy to injury. I think Maryland keeps with them. Maryland might even stop them a few times. I took 6.5. I had to.
I think it's a horrific spot for Washington, but I think they're the better team by far. So I think Maryland's fraudulent. So I can't get there with you on the Terps. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, we're going to find out because this is I just think this is kind of spot play. I mean, to be honest with you, my number is 6.5 on the dot, but I had to downgrade. I had to upgrade Maryland a point for the bye week, and I had to downgrade Washington a little bit for the big game and the travel. So that's
one of the spot plays of the week. It'd be the top 3 spot play of the week.
Yeah. And so we're going to find out if Maryland's really kind of, let's just say, I'm not going to say for real, I'm going to say pesky, right? Let's see if they can turn into like the Iowa or like a old Wisconsin type pesky, Big Ten team that's just not going to be like Ohio State, but pretty good. Interesting. Wow, it's funny to see SMU laying all these points against Syracuse. Syracuse has the big win, and then they just completely laid the egg last week. SMU's coming off the bye. Should we lay 17.5 with SMU?
I can't because, I don't think SMU's look good at all this year in any game. In fact, they haven't covered a game. In fact, they failed to cover them by like 10 points per game on average. So can't lay it. Although I can't take it with Syracuse with the backup is so horrific. Yeah, I can see why they went out and got Steve Angeli post-spring after watching Ricky Collins.
I agree. SMU's fraudulent too, Bobby, because in Brad, because they lost almost all their defense. They lost a lot of their wide receivers. They are just a little bit fraudulent. And I even after the bye, I'm off them for sure. If you guys have any more games to bring up in the chat, please bring them up because I'm just kind of going random here. I talked about Oregon State going to Boone. Are you playing anything in this game? The total's 53.5, Brad.
I bet it under a few days ago above a key number of 55, but I can't trust either side. I know you're on Oregon State. I'm rooting for you because I bet Oregon State's win total and they can't lose another game. So they got to win the last 7 for me to cash. That's the bad position I'm in.
Speaking of bad games, Miami, Ohio at Northern Illinois. Oh,
that's rough. Bet Miami, Ohio. I can't at current. Northern Illinois' offense is maybe the worst in the country.
What's worse is Central Michigan and Akron plus 8.5.
That's true.
That's worse.
Especially if Akron's quarterback doesn't play. Oof. Their backups are horrific.
I took
a lot
the
of people
under.
are on Central in that game.
I took the under. What was it when I took it? I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, I think you got a really good number.
Yeah, 47, something like that. It moved right after I took it, though. I couldn't even do anything. Michigan State, Nebraska. That's kind of an interesting under the radar game. I think both are coming off the bye. Am I wrong about that? I feel like there's too many points given to Nebraska here. I feel like Michigan State, and just kind of like what they did to USC, can kind of sneak through. It's late afternoon game, so it's going to start getting dark in Nebraska. That's kind of tough on the opponents coming in. But I think this should be a 10 or 9. I don't think it should be 11.5.
Agree. I made it 10. Check the wind forecast there. I think it's supposed to be pretty windy.
That's good because Nebraska, even more. Childress runs more than Raiola, I believe, doesn't he? I feel like Michigan State's.
They're more of a Nebraska's total pro pass now. So I'm the under's taking a ton of money, but Nebraska's taking money. So it doesn't correlate to me. So I think the value is on Michigan State.
I think so too. If you look at the Aiden Childs, when I say Childress, Childs has already 154 rushing yards. He's the second rusher over there, and that's where he's going to get some, he's going to break loose. And Nebraska struggles against that. And we saw them struggle against Michigan, right? In that
I was not
situation.
impressed with them. I thought they got buried at the line of scrimmage in that game. I'm big on the line of scrimmage.
Me too. That's the most important thing, I think. You want to be a good handicapper, focus on the line of scrimmage, because that's going to win you a lot more games, and you'll take a lot less losses if you pay attention to that. But I just feel like Bryce Underwood ran all over him. So, one of those situations. Oh, Bobby likes Michigan State too, plus 11.5. Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Trip Tepper, Air Force Navy. Can the Fly Boys cover 11.5? No. I don't think so, Brad.
I lean that way, but I haven't bet it. Their defense is horrific. They just they don't look like a service academy team. They are throwing it a little bit, Air Force, but their defense is so bad. I mean, it looks like a JV team out there. I mean, it just looks like they're pulling sleds. They're giving up like 7.3 yards per play. I mean, it's one of the worst in the country. They just Navy's offense should have, but it is service academy, so you think under, but we've seen over money come in. Air Force games that went over by an average of 24 points per game, all four.
Well, there you have it. Yeah, I was high on Air Force before the season started. I took there was my last season win total bet. I took over, and
I did too.
I was late to the party, but I'm kind of regretting it now. They 1-3. I would have expected them to beat Utah State or one of those before the season, or at least Hawaii at home. But they're in some serious trouble.
No,
now.
they're done. Already a loss.
I'm
with you, man. It's already a loss. You got to win. You can't be losing 2 games as a favorite.
No.
Outright.
And you just think because they're an option, can they stop Navy? Well, Navy's got a little bit more of a creative option game.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's sneaky over.
Maybe. 38 attempts for passing for Blake Horvath already. 68.4% completion. He has thrown a few picks, but this is Air Force, man.
Yeah, that's 4 games, and they've blown some teams out. So, I mean, he's averaging 10 passes a game is a lot for Service Academy. Look at the Air Force kid. I mean, he's throwing it too. So, totally different.
Absolutely. Yeah, Air Force defense, something else. FCS level. That's what Bobby says. And Andrew Jonathan Smith is awesome after buys. Yeah, there's like we were talking Michigan State, and Andrew is a great guy, maybe contributing a little bit to the Aspergers. Let's move on to Oklahoma's going to run Kent State, right? They have the backup in, right? Who's the backup over there?
Michael Hawkins is his name. He started a few games last year. Can't throw, but he can run. How much do they play him? Do they value the reps, or do they, save him for Texas next week?
Well, the problem is the third string's going to come in and still put it on Kent State.
Kent State is so bad. So it's a sneaky over, because I mean, if you're hemming and hawing about the side, I mean, if Oklahoma covers, the game's going over.
I like it over 53.5.
Reminds me of the Florida State game. I mean, I just forget the side, just bet over, and hell, it was almost it was trending over at halftime before a weather delay.
I like it. Over 53.5. I'm playing that. I'm counting that too as one of our plays.
Oklahoma can easily get there.
Absolutely.
And they're running tempo now, so I'm anxious to see if they continue the tempo. So good game to at least pay attention to see how Oklahoma plays it. It sucks,
right.
Mateer got hurt. I thought Oklahoma against Texas was going to be one of my favorite bets of the year.
Oh, that would have been awesome. I would have been slamming Oklahoma.
And we'd have had Oklahoma as a dog too. Like,
could he make it back? Can he make it back at all?
Yeah, he'll make it back, but not for that game.
I don't want to talk about Colorado TCU. It's only TCU for me there, but I'm not going to touch it. I don't think. A&M minus 14.5 against Mississippi State. Terrible spot for Mississippi State. The thing passed the 14. Were you part of that, Brad?
They're really banged up at the line of scrimmage. They have issues at tackle. Both their tackles are out. And man, Tennessee, that's where Tennessee got them. And Tennessee scored 2 defensive touchdowns because of the pressure. And A&M, got pressure on Auburn. A&M killed Auburn way worse in that final if you watch that game. should have won by like 17. Yeah, I think A&M's a sneaky favorite this week to bet. I think they could blow out
I
Mississippi
think
State. Mississippi State's out of gas. First road game for them already.
I agree. I agree. You know, that was the first thing I saw. But I was like, do I bet Mississippi State? No. And I was like, should I bet Texas A&M? And I looked other places and kind of forgot about it. And now we are at 14 and a half. I'm going to wait till it gets to 14. I think that's going to come back for some clueless people going in on it. Kansas versus UCF. Kansas minus 4.5. What a choke last week. I'm not so high on UCF really. You know, if you looked at the old Scott Frost team, you would slam the over 54.5. But this is a weird UCF that plays more defense now, and you know, I would lean to Kansas, but I don't think I'm betting it.
UCF, both their quarterbacks are questionable. Taven Jackson makes a difference for them. They have nothing without him. When he's in there, he can run around a little bit, but I would only look towards Kansas off a loss.
You know, one I didn't bring up was Coastal Carolina's coming back off the bye, and I was looking at Old Dominion. Shit, it's up to 20.5 now.
Yeah, people were pounding that one.
It was like 17.5, 18.5 when I was going to bring it up to you. Maybe I looked at it yesterday, but still, it's under 21. Why did Coastal beat South Alabama? I had South Alabama in the contest.
Look at your finals of the year. They didn't even have 300 yards of offense, and they had 38 points. So I'm still not buying their offense. Old Dominion is sneaky good.
I know.
Their Indiana performance looks better and better by the week. They only lost by 13 to Indiana. That Colton Joseph kid, I mean, is a touchdown waiting to happen anytime he's running the ball. Yeah, I don't know. He's got like 4 or 5 touchdowns of like 70 plus yards this year. So that's a sneaky team. It's them and JMU. Those are by far the 2 best teams in the Sun Belt. I guess Texas State, but we'll see.
My power ratings are still at 24. I don't know why I didn't bet it when I was thinking about it. I could still bet
Open
it.
15.
Yeah.
I know someone personally that bet that.
I'm sure you do. Sure you do. Yourself. All right. What about Cal +3. Cal +3 against Duke. I like Cal. I like the quarterback.
I like Cal.
I still can't say his name. It's just like Uiagalelei. It's going to take me a while. Can you say his name yet?
Sunga Polotelli. Sunga
Polotelli.
Yep, there you go.
I got to practice that. Sunga Polotelli came out being the shining from I'm guessing Hawaii, right? It's Jaron Kiwi Sunga Polotelli. JKS, baby. And that's what most people are going to call him. But if you want to be cool, you can be like Sunga Polotelli. I'm going to be cool and take the 3. I think it's a bad spot for Duke coming all the way up to the West Coast here. Cal's in a spot where, you know, they're coming back home. They had a very weird loss recently. I don't think it was they came back last week against Boston College, which was great. But that San Diego State loss probably still burns them a little bit. They're really good at home against Minnesota.
Very similar spot. It reminds me of the Minnesota game.
Yep. Absolutely.
Late night. Duke's body clock's not used to playing at past midnight. I know it's college kids, but still, you're not used to playing a football game at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
You're playing John Madden at 1 in the morning. You're not playing real football.
Yeah.
Or you're playing Fortnite like my son. So probably playing against him because he plays so dang much. No, that's it, man. Unless you want to talk about Nevada for Fresno State, I would lay it with Fresno if I had to do it. I got nothing there. So, you know, great stuff coming up. And hey, we got some beer bet bangers to talk about here, my man. We always like to look at a, dog, and it doesn't have to be a game. It can be whatever you want, Brad. But what do you think about some beer bet bangers for this weekend? And you can do more than one if you like.
Yeah, I'm going to do a bunch, and it's games because I like a lot of dogs this week. We talked about a bunch of these. Cal, I think, is very live. We just talked about that. I think Wyoming's very live. I'm selling UNLV. I think it starts this week. Kansas State, I mentioned that already. Boston College, I'm going to agree with you. I think Boston College is very live as a 6.5 point dog.
Oh, yeah.
That's nearly 2-1. The one that seems too easy, but I'm going to wait on and hopefully get a 10 or more and maybe sprinkle a little money line Purdue off a bye, catching Illinois. But that's one that, if we're talking near a double-digit underdog that can win outright this week, I think that seems like the most likely one.
I love it. This sounds like a round robin to me, my man.
Yeah.
And every dog that I like, I always like a sprinkle on the money line. So I'd like Florida a little bit. I like Florida State. A- all those ones that I gave out. I like, and I love Boston College too. And so the Boise State's not going to win, but I think they cover. So, but if you really want a massive one to throw in your round robin, there you have
I'll
it.
be betting that.
There you go. I think you get like 9-1 at least,
Yep.
and something like that. Beer bet banger for me. I'm going with the Bolitnikoff Award.
Oh, wow. You're going derivative. Wow.
Chris Brazil, my man. He's all of Tennessee, in my opinion. He's crushing it there. He's making that quarterback look good. Number 2 in yards and number 1 in receiving touchdowns. He's actually got the stats to look at. It's funny. You look at, like, let's do a comparable thing. And let's go with Dante Moore. Dante Moore is only like 10th or 11th in receiving yards. He's not the highest in QBR, and his defense is getting him by. And that's my whole problem about Jeremiah Smith in this. Jeremiah Smith doesn't have to play fourth quarters. Jeremiah Smith doesn't have the schedule that he has to play fourth quarters. And Jeremiah Smith's got that defense that they're just going to run the clock out every single week on. Chris Brazil is going to be playing the full game in Tennessee of every game. His numbers are going to be way off the freaking charts, just like they are right now. And he's plus 750, the same as Dante Moore for Heisman. I think it's an easy play for me on Chris Brazil.
I like it. I'm looking to see where it's at. So.
DK and FanDuel 6-1. BetMGM is 7.5-1 again too. So there you have it. You gonna jump in with me?
Yes.
All right. Look at
very
that.
Noticeable. His tape is very noticeable. The Georgia and Mississippi State games, easily a top 3 wide receiver. And if he gets the stats, my only concern would be, and I've told people, and Jeremiah Smith has 3 big games to close the season. He's going to be forget the Bolitnikoff. He's going to be liable to win the Heisman. These types of voters only are watching certain games. Penn State, Michigan, probably Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. Those could sway a lot of people. So sometimes you got to handicap the idiot voters.
You sure do. But, the idiot voters look at stats, and Brazil's stats are going to be the best.
Yeah, they're going to be tremendous. He's very likely to lead the country.
Yeah, I think so too. He already is. And Tennessee's just going to keep being Tennessee. Plus, Tennessee's the fastest playing team in the nation. It's just there's just going to be way more snaps for him. So I'm loving you're on that side.
And their schedule isn't overly difficult for an SEC schedule. They still got to play at Alabama, but besides that game, they're in decent shape.
Yep. Well, let's see if that number moves. I love it. Plus 750. Grab Chris Brazil for the Bolitnikoff. Brad, my man, we talked a lot of college football as usual. All good things have to come to an end. Where could you let our listeners and viewers know to get your wonderful information and plays?
You can just follow me on Twitter, Brad Power 7, and then just go from there. If you like what you see, then you can go to the other stuff that I do. If not, then have a good day. Or you can always check me out. I do so much stuff. So
yeah, and Brad shares it all
here. I'm around.
Brad's always around. Easy to find man. One of the most genuine dudes around, and one of the greatest line movers, as I said, on Sundays in college football. Brad, thanks again for coming on. Best of luck this weekend. We'll be talking soon.
Thanks for having me.